Is there proof that Blake Lively conspired against Justin Baldoni with the New York Times? Is Blake Lively planting stories? A lot that we will get into today. I'm forewarning you, I'm in a very spicy mood. So I might get a little Zactivated. Let's get it. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. Welcome on in, welcome on in, welcome on in. What's going on, everybody? Everybody in the club. Somebody commented on YouTube, I think yesterday, and they're like, every time you say what's going on, it reminds me of Bret Michaels. I just want to credit Bret Michaels. I believe I got that from Bret Michaels. I used to watch Rock of Love. Back in the day, I would watch me some Rock of Love. Daily Dose of Donna's in the live chat. Good. Zach is here so I can steal from him. Please steal from me, Donna, and please give me credit. Brittany says the RFK Jr. hearing is going on, and it's absolutely insane that this man has to explain to people why he wants to make America healthy. How is this even a thing? Make America healthy. We voted. Yeah, it is crazy. I was invited to attend that, but unfortunately, I had Juicy Scoop planned, and then I did Court TV, and I have an interview that was pre-booked for today, so I wasn't able to go to DC, even though I really wanted to. I love me some RFK Jr. I know that's controversial, but don't worry. I'll get more controversial as the day goes on. They're being awful to him. Listen, I'm sure they are. He's taken it for years. I've known him for many, many years, and he's always kind of taken it on the chin. So I'm not surprised that it's probably a little brutal in the hearing today, but we'll see how it turns out. Okay. So what do we want to start with today? There's so much to get into. There's this new article that I just saw in the Hollywood Reporter that got me fired up. And then there are people that are complaining about me stealing their content. And I was fired up about this, Mark. I was voice noting my girl, Donna Bowling. Maha is crazy. I know making America healthy again is pretty crazy, right? But so it's wild and bonkers. So where should we start? So I've been pretty honest about believing that Blake Lively is the one behind an alleged smear campaign against Justin Baldoni. I spotted it from the very beginning with the New York Times, which is very funny because the New York Times has conveniently added their paywall back. Remember how I was judging? I was even on Juicy Scoop this week, and I was like, the New York Times took off their paywall. Like that was a big red flag. Well, I tried to go onto the New York Times yesterday, and apparently the paywall is back because I couldn't just access Blake Lively's complaint. And I'm like, what a coinkyding. Now suddenly we have the paywall back. I have questions, New York Times. Now I have questions about the Hollywood Reporter. Okay. But so I posted a video yesterday about these, I guess I don't know if it's called metadata. I thought it was called metadata. So listen, it's been a very busy week. I was taping Juicy Scoop. I've been taping No Filter every morning. I had to tape Court TV live at 5 a.m. yesterday. I had to tape the Pop Report yesterday. So I'm not fully, diving into everything that's going on online. Okay. That's just the truth of the matter. So somebody sent me a message and said, hey, you should go to the old New York Times article, the original one, and look at the images, because when you isolate the images, what you can see is that there's a URL at the top. I actually have the images here that I will show you. So if you look at this still shot, and you look at the top, the very tippity top, if you zoom into it, you can see at the top that this photo, which is a photo that was used in the original New York Times article, it has a date in it. Same thing with the original cover art, right? It has a date in it. You can't, well, actually, I'm going to take off the No Filter logo for just a second at the top right corner. That way you can also see, look at, if you zoom into the tippity top, you can see there's my Google image profile picture up at the top right. So you know that these screenshots are original and they're all mine, because guess what? I went on my phone and I went on my laptop and I took these screenshots myself, because then I posted about this. Because when you look at I was told that it was called metadata, but apparently it's not called metadata. It's called something else, but it's the top URL. So if you go on any website and you take an image that they used in their article and you isolate it into its own page, you can like right click and say open in new tab, and it'll open the image in the new tab, and up top it'll give you a date. Now what does that date mean? So that date could mean one of two things. It either is the date that the file was created, or most times it's the date that the image or file was uploaded to the server, to the website. So in this case, these two photos, and I believe the video that was in the original New York Times article as well, these two photos were uploaded to the New York Times based off of these timestamps on 12/18, and I believe the other one is 12/16. Okay, so those dates are important. 16th and the 18th, and I believe the video was uploaded to the server on the 12th. What does this mean? This tells us that the New York Times was working on this article at least as early. They were uploading media to the server or to the website as early as 12/12. Okay, based off of these timestamps. Now, somebody sent me one of these images and said, look at the URL, look at the timestamp, look at the dates. They're like, it was before the article was published because the article was published on December 21st, right? Justin Baldoni, in his lawsuit against the New York Times, claims that it was December 20th when they decided to reach out to him and ask him to comment on the article, or ask for his response to the allegations that were made in the article based off of the CRD complaint that was filed by Blake Lively and seemingly leaked to the New York Times, right? Even though Blake Lively did not actually go on record, it's pretty obvious that Blake Lively or somebody in her camp leaked this to the New York Times, because a CRD complaint is typically confidential and it's not a publicly accessible record, which is why when somebody gave me this information, they said, look at this. And then I went to the New York Times website, I looked at it, I took the screenshots, and guess what? I sent these two images directly to my friend, Daily Dose of Donna, okay? Walking you through the timeline. Someone on Twitter, I would have to go through all my the notifications to find out the exact account that sent this to me, but it was somebody that follows me online, and they're like, you need to look into this. And I said, okay, thank you. I'll look into it. So I looked into it, sent it to Donna, and Donna's like, what am I looking at? And I was like, look at the dates in the images so that you can see that they're older photos. And then I made an Instagram reel about this. But prior to making the reel, I was leaving the studio in Hollywood after taping the Pop Report in my car, going home to downtown. It's about a 45-minute, maybe 50-minute ride back. Okay. I then get on the phone with Donna Bowling because then we start discussing this. And I'm like, this is crazy. This shows that the New York Times, and it's not unprecedented, right? Because our friend Sarah Fraser then commented on my Instagram reel. And she's like, this is pretty normal for the New York, for, them to work on images and articles for more than the date of publication. That's correct. It is normal that they work on this for some time, right? What's abnormal, there are two things that stand out to me about this. One, I need to know when the CRD complaint was filed, because I want to know, was it filed on the 12th? Was it filed on the 16th? Was it filed on the 18th? Was it filed prior to that? Because I would love to know the date of filing of the actual CRD complaint. Somebody told me that it was filed on 12/20, which would be strange if the New York Times had been working on this article back to 12/12, but yet the complaint wasn't filed until 12/20. Now, I cannot confirm that it was filed on 12/20. Somebody randomly mentioned that to me in a DM or in a comment. And I can't confirm that because I was on the phone with Donna and we were trying to confirm that. And we were going onto the New York Times website to re-download. I was in the car, so I didn't have my laptop on me. The PDF is on my computer. So I said, Donna, are you home? Can you pull up the CRD filing, the actual document, the PDF, and can we see if there's a date listed on it so we know when Blake Lively actually filed this? We tried to access it, and that's when we learned that the New York Times has now added their paywall onto these articles, which was not originally there. Let's be very clear about that. The New York Times did not have their paywall at the date of publication. And it wasn't until this week when I went back to revisit that article that I realized now there is a paywall. So what did I do? I went and I paid the $4 for the 1-year membership to the New York Times. I gave them a little coin so that I could download and access this file. Donna accessed it. She said there's no date listed in the CRD complaint. I looked at it. There's no date listed in the CRD complaint. Because it was a confidential filing, we don't have confirmation of when the CRD complaint was actually filed, right? Again, somebody told me it was 12/20. That would be kind of weird if the New York Times was working on this as early as 12/12, which also you have to put into, consideration. If it was uploaded to the site on 12/12, then that means that it was probably had been worked on for a couple of days, but it was clear that the New York Times was working on this for some time. We don't have the date of the CRD complaint, but we do have the date that Justin Baldoni claims that they reached out to him for comment. And it was the evening of 12/20, which was the date the date prior to 1 day prior to publication, right? Because he claims they contacted him at 10 p.m. on December 20th, and then they published the article the following morning, but they gave him until noon the following day, which was December 21st, to give his response. And then they ended up publishing the article 2 hours early, which is part of the reason he's suing them for promissory fraud and breach of implied in fact contract, right? I actually read all of the documents. I looked up what all of these terms mean. I made sure to use my little fingers and use my Elwood's degree to make sure I fact check things, right? So it's possible that this proves that Blake Lively was working with the New York Times and in some way trying to make sure that this narrative, regardless, it shows that they were working with Blake Lively for several days to confirm these details, and yet they only gave Justin Baldoni a 14-hour window to hear his side of the story, which to me implies bias, right? It shows that they very much already had their agenda made up. They already knew the narrative. They already knew the angle of the story. If you're going to give one person several days to comment on the story and to provide information, and then you only give the other party 12 hours because they gave him a 14-hour window and then published it within 12-ish hours, then that to me implies there's very clear bias and they weren't interested in Baldoni's side of the story. They were only interested in Blake Lively's side of the story. And like I've said, I've always thought that this, and this is my own conjecture, I thought that this was a attempt to have another Me Too, Rose McGowan, Harvey Weinstein takedown, right? A big breaking story that I don't think they ever thought anybody was going to, dive deep into. And unfortunately, everybody on TikTok is now, an investigative journalist. If you have a podcast, you're an investigative journalist. And like me, you can end up on court TV. So yeah, so those are all the details. That's, the situation. I showed these, and like I said, you can see on the top right, you can see my profile photo, so you know that these are screenshots that I originally took when I was looking at this in the back seat of my Chevy Suburban. Okay, in my ride in traffic back to downtown LA after leaving the Pop Report studio. Okay, I'll show you the Uber receipt. I'll show you the time call log with Donna. We were literally going back and forth trying to piece this together, trying to access the CRD complaint to get the dates and put them together. Right. Well, then I publish this, and then everybody on Instagram starts coming at me, and they're just like, Candace Owens already revealed this information. And then everybody on TikTok starts talking about this woman, Gooj, Gooj. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Gooj. And they're like, Gooj already talked about this. And I was like, I don't watch Candace Owens' show that often. If anything, I'll catch a few clips on TikTok, and I don't know who this Gooj person is. And then Gooj came into my comments, and Gooj was like, wow, you could have at least credited me. And I was like, lady, I don't know you. Who are you? What? Why are you in my, what? I literally put this together in the back seat of a Chevy Suburban on the phone with my friend Donna Bowling. My phone was at 5%. It was about to die. I was like, I thought that it was going to die at any minute. And Donna thought that I was going to that I was, taken out, that my right-wing conspiracies got me taken out by the CIA. And so, yeah, literally, yeah. So I was just like, what? Like, why is now this the conversation that we're like stealing each other's content? I've never watched a Goosh video. Okay. I don't know what Goosh puts out there. I don't know anything about her. And this morning I even text Dawn and I'm like, why are they accusing me of stealing content when I had no idea? I was literally in the studio recording for the last 2 days. I haven't paid attention to what anybody else is posting. And to be fucking honest, I don't pay attention to what other content creators are putting out there because I don't like to steal their content. I like to come up with my own originally baked ideas. Okay. So I'm not intentionally trying to steal information from Candace Owens, who just got interest in this story when I've been covering it extensively for over 4 weeks now, and reading all of the documents for over 4 weeks and digging into all of this stuff. So when somebody gives me a tip, I run with that tip. I do my own info. I dig up my own info. And then, I publish something and I run with it. But I didn't steal it from anybody else. And I'm sorry I didn't give Googe credit for that. I don't know who the fuck that is. I'm not going to give somebody credit for something I didn't take from them. You know who I will give credit? I will do some shout outs and give credit here because there's this one woman on X. This is her account. I get a lot of my info from X, actually. Her name is Colonel Kurtz 99 on X, and Ariadna Jacob. Ari Jacob, who I've had on this podcast. Those are two people that I get info from and communicate with regularly outside of Donna Bowling. Okay. Those are the three people that I will absolutely give credit to because I get info from them. But if I need to bow down to the aisle or bow down to the altar of Kyle Richards and say Googe and Candace Owens are supreme and they're superior and they're the only ones that are allowed to put out original thoughts and ideas about content related to Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, then you know what? I will say it. I am scum on the bottom of their shoe. I don't have an original idea of my own. I can't do my own investigation. I can't put together my own reels because apparently they're inside my head and they give me all these ideas all the time. And then apparently now there's another bitch that entered the group chat because Donna was texting me this morning. And she's like, don't you remember when you sent me this info that I mentioned this other person, Dave Neal? I don't know who Dave Neal is. I'm like, who's Dave Neal? And Donna's like, I mentioned him to you. I'm like, okay, yes, I vaguely remember you saying his name. I've never watched his content. And then Donna sent me a YouTube video. And apparently he put a video about this saying, breaking news. Is this proof the New York Times coordinated with Blake Lively to destroy Justin Baldoni? Okay, I did it. This title of this video was my own title. I didn't take that from Dave Neal because I had scheduled this video prior to even looking at this, but I didn't watch the video Donna sent me. I'm not trying to steal anybody else's ideas, but if I need to bow down to the altar of Dave Neal and Kyle Richards and Magooge and Candace Owens, they are superior, they are supreme, they have the best content in the world. I will kiss their buttholes, whatever I need to do to give them the credit that they believe that they deserve. Then I will get down on my knees and I will pray to them. Your source just passed you Googe's info. It's not a bad thing. I don't know if it came from Googe. That's the thing. It could have come from Dave Neal. It could have come from Candace Owens. It could have come from Googe. It could have come from anybody. I don't know. Maybe it came from Blake Lively herself or Justin Baldoni's wife. I don't know the origin of the source. I don't know who published it first. I literally don't give a fuck. That's why I intentionally don't consume. And I love Donna Bowling. I'll tune into her show live for about 3 minutes, but I intentionally don't like to watch other people, even my friends, because I don't want to steal their content. You know who I listened to this week? The Skinny Confidential and the Megyn Kelly show. Why? Because the Skinny Confidential has good like business advice and motivational stuff. And then I listened to the Megyn Kelly show because Tom Homan, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but the newly assigned borders are. He was talking about immigration. And why did I want to dig into info on immigration from the newly assigned borders are? Because Selena Gomez went and did a crying video about her people being attacked. Her people are my people. We're both Mexican. And so I was like, well, let me see what's actually going on with immigration. And so I wanted to listen to his interview on the Megyn Kelly show. So that's what I was listening to yesterday to see what his current policies on immigration are and why everybody's so scared. And so I was trying to consume information that was not about Blake and Baldoni. So those are the two podcasts that I've listened to for the last 2 weeks. Megyn Kelly and The Skinny Confidential. Shout out Lauren Bosick. Shout out Michael from Dear Media. There you go. You want all my receipts? I'll send you my Uber receipt. It's silly to me that we're even having this, but listen, Googe is supreme. Put the crown on her head. She's the best ever. Give her flowers. Go follow her. Comment on her stuff. Tell her she is supreme and amazing and the best Baldoni coverage ever. There you go. Serenity says, Zack, Donna, Dave Neal, Andy Popcorn Planet. Oh, talking about Andy Popcorn Planet, his comic section lately is very toxic. Who's Andy Popcorn? Who is Angie? I feel like Mary Cosby. I'm like, who is Angie? Who is Googe? Who is Popcorn Planet Andy? Who is Dave Neal? Who is Angie? I literally, listen, I support all creators. I don't want to sound sarcastic when I say this because I genuinely mean this next part. The rest of it was sarcastic, but this next part, I support all creators. I've been in this game a long time. Have people stolen content from me? Absolutely. Every day people DM me and they're like, look at this person reposted your video and didn't give you credit. And I always respond the same way. It's fine. It comes with the territory, right? People are going to rip me off. People are going to take my content. People are going to take my videos and post them so that they can get likes and whatever. They're going to use my face and my voice and whatever to go and promote their content. That's part of the game, right? That's what we sign up for is we put ourselves on the internet and sometimes we get ripped off. Is it intentional most of the time? I don't know. Is it not? I don't know. And guess what? I don't give a fuck. I'm not telling people to continue to rip me off, but when people send me stuff saying that I'm being ripped off, I'm like, listen, I can't control it. I've been there in the days where I've tried to control it and I've wanted them to give me credit and whatever. And now I'm just like, out of my hands, out of my hands. Lisa Thomas says, everyone has the info. It's just your unique personality and your way of thinking and your communicating that it sets you and Donna apart from the rest of us. Facts. Listen, it is what it is. Christopher says, calm down. Do you guys, I thought you guys like when I get spicy and activating. Chris like, take a Xanax. But literally, Donna says, now I'm going to cry. Why are you going to cry, Zach? Trent says, you do OF. I don't do OF. Should I do OF? Is that something that I should move into? At this point, I feel like if everybody else wants to talk about Blake and Baldoni and they want to lead the Supreme and Googe wants to be the number one, fuck it. Take it. Go. I'll stop talking about it. Like, Jesus. Zach, I would like to know if you yelled at me with the vein popping out. Popping out of my biceps. I thought you were talking about about Kyle Richards. Urgh. Can you see the vein in my butt? You could see it on you could see it right here. You could see it on Juicy Scoop. Look at that. Oh, yeah. I forgot about Megyn Kelly. Love her too. Oh, yeah. Did I steal her content? Who is Angie? Zach is based. Love it. I just don't give a fuck. Don't come into my comments and talk about me stealing your content. You're not that special to me, sweetheart. Listen, do you? I support you. I've been in this game a long time, okay? I don't need to steal content from anybody else. I hope everybody does well. Zach, do you smell like Teen Spirit? I don't know. Yes, I do. Yes, I'm wearing a Nirvana shirt. I got the reference. Smell like Teen Spirit. Mm, Zach, the sincerest form of flattery is imitation, so they're going to copy you. Let them. Apparently, I'm the one that's copying all of them. I don't have original thoughts of my own. I haven't read all of the documents myself. Sorry, my content slaps. But speaking of my content, so I just posted a new reel. This is where the conspiracy smear campaign continues against Justin Baldoni. You're very original. Don't let them get you bothered. I'm not bothered by them personally. I'm more bothered by the people that are annoying in the comments. They're like, give credit to Candace, give credit to Googe, give credit to this person, give credit to that person. I'm like, I don't even know who they are. But like I said, the 2 people or 3 people that I would love to absolutely give credit to, and I will scream from the rooftops, are Colonel Kurtz 99 on X, and then Ariadna Jacobs, Ari Jacob, Little Miss Jacob. Okay, I want to give them credit because I actually do share ideas with them. I know who they are. I correspond with them. I talk to them. I read their posts on X and Donna Bowling. Absolutely. Don and I literally talk about this on the daily. But so Ari and I were, because we were conspiring to steal content from Googe. We were talking about this new article that came out called, or from the Hollywood Reporter. Let's get into this one. Talk about a smear campaign, right? So this came out in the Hollywood Reporter, and it says, what's behind right-wing support for male feminists? Male feminists is in air quotes, or in quotation marks, sorry. But I'm doing air quotes on the podcast. Support for male feminist Justin Baldoni. The It Ends With Us director and star shares a powerful attorney with some of his newly found backers in conservative media. Donna, is this us? Are we conservative media? Are we right-wing conspiracy theorists? Oh no. What? It's literally insane to me. It's like an old, tired playbook at this point. Oh, that's another article about Justin Baldoni being shirtless on the beach in Us Weekly. But no. So isn't this wild? This article to me was so bananas bonkers because I'm like, is that what we're doing now? Like, we've gotten to such a low point where we're tired of people believing Baldoni, despite the overwhelming evidence in support of him, right? Because we don't have any evidence. Like, the only people that believe like Blake Lively are like Nick Viall that are going with their instinct, right? They're going with their gut. They're going with they met Justin Baldoni one time and they got performative vibes from him. They thought that he was a little phony. Maybe he is phony. He calls himself a feminist. Sounds pretty woke to me. Sounds like he's a bit phony, right? Or at least performative, but that's Hollywood for you. Welcome to the club. But what's crazy is it's like, how is it that now, if you believe Justin Baldoni, suddenly you're right wing? Like, That to me, bananas bonkers. Truly bananas. Like, how did this become political? But like, this is the playbook. This is what, and I feel like the New York, or sorry, the Hollywood Reporter tends to favor Blake Lively, but a lot of the media in their headlines tends to favor Blake Lively, and only recently have they kind of started to change their tune a little bit because again, the evidence is overwhelmingly in support of Justin Baldoni. And it's not just because he's the one that's leaking this info, but also because Blake Lively now has made 3 attempts to put a gag order on Baldoni and his legal team to prevent them from continuing to put stuff out there, which to me is kind of crazy, right? Like, again, who do you think is telling the truth and who do you think is telling the lie when one person's like, let's mention it all. Here's all the footage. Here are all the text messages. Let's put a website together. Let's blast all the text messages. Like, here you go. Take it all and make your own opinion. And then the other side is like, no, 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 no. Let's make sure that there are no cameras in the courtroom. No, 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 no. Let's put a gag reel so that we can stop leaking things to the press. No, 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 no. Khaleesi says no. Khaleesi has her dragons, even though one of the dragons seems to have flown away and the other dragon seems to be quiet in the dungeon. But the dragons, have tamed themselves. And now Khaleesi's like, what do? I have to shut everybody up. So it's just wild that like this is the new narrative that now somebody said it's not about you, it's about Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens. No, I know that. I know that they're using people like Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly as references, but my point is they're aligning that narrative with it being right wing, which to be fair, I mean, maybe Candace Owens is a little more right wing than Megyn Kelly, but I feel like Megyn Kelly's always been a little more center and, just kind of like I mean, she's a journalist. Candace Owens, I don't believe, has a journalism background. But listen, I like both of them. I have nothing against Candace. I have nothing against Megyn. I think they're both great at what they do. I have a lot of respect for what they've built, right? But back to Khaleesi, who I lose respect for every day. It's just crazy to me that like this is, and I spotted it. I spotted it with how, and I've presented the theory a million times about how it was presented with the New York Times. And then now we're seeing stories like this pop up in like the Hollywood Reporter that are trying to make it seem, because like people right away have their political, affiliations. They have their dogma. And if something, seems to be a little right wing, they can, in conspiracy theory, it's like, oh, no, 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 I don't want to be associated with that. So let me get in line over here. Right. Which to me is just kind of silly. And I think more people are waking up to these tactics, these media tactics. Like we're becoming a little too savvy about it. Right. Like we're, kind of, we've seen the Wizard of Oz. We know that it's all smoke and mirrors, and Oz is not the all great and all powerful. So it's wild to me that they're now trying to associate believing Baldoni with a right wing agenda, with a right wing narrative, when I don't think this has anything to do with politics. This has everything to do. And listen, the right side and is right, alt right and right center or center right, they're all like more people are flooding in that direction and leaving the left because the left has just gone a little too wackadoodle. So, yeah, a lot more people that are technically being lumped in with the right who tend to think critically and believe facts over feelings, yeah, are probably going to side with Justin Baldoni because, again, facts over feelings. You look at somebody like Nick Viall, who, again, I don't watch his show either, but my friend Donna Bowling was telling me about it. She was like, he just posted and he was saying that he overheard I guess he overheard some women talking about it like at a restaurant or something, and he said that he has now realized that people, that believe Justin Baldoni have come to this conclusion because they believe that Blake Lively is lying. And I'm like, wow, Nick Viall came up with that original thought all on his own. He didn't steal that from Goosh. What? It was just crazy. And so I was like, oh, he thinks that we think Blake is lying, maybe because the actual evidence is in support of Justin Baldoni, but okay. Um, Wackadoodle, like completely, absolutely wackadoodle. Um, so yeah. But like it's clear that he hasn't reviewed all of the evidence. It's clear that he's already, put his flag in the sand and he's just going to stick it there and that's where it's going to stay and nothing is going to change him at this point. So it's just dumb, 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 dumb. Amanda said he should give you credit for that realization. That's his own. He can keep his own original thoughts. Can everyone enjoy who they want? Leave Zag alone. I mean, listen, I'm annoyed by it, but I'm not really, you know, all that bothered by it. Nick Hearsay is submittable in court. Nick Hearsay is not submittable in the court of law. Well, I mean, Nick's not even going off of hearsay. Nick's just going off of his vibes, right? And whatever his team that puts his notes together tells him to say. It's just, well, I love that word. Wackadoodle. Yeah. He overheard a conversation. Apparently, giving credit to Donna on that one because she's the one that relayed. She listened to it for me, and I think she played a clip of it on her show. So tune into her show if you want to actually listen to that clip. Chris Bacon says, "What? Who's coming for Zach? I'm coming in late. Nobody's let it go. Let the mouse go. Don't start any fights." You think it'll go to court or settle? Well, we have a court date. It's March 9th of 2026. I believe that it will likely settle. I don't think she's gonna. I mean, I don't know. There's part of me that's like ego is driving this, so ego may take it all the way, and then on the other side of it, it's like the case doesn't look like they can win. But then I understand that's why they want the gag order, and that's why they don't want cameras in the courtroom, is because they want to make sure that they can stay in control of the narrative, even if it doesn't go in their favor. Well, Janelle, yeah. Ryan Reynolds is looking haggard. I mean, did you see the article about her brother apologizing? Who's Blake Lively's brother's apologizing for her? Dave Neal always adds little disclaimers because he doesn't want to look bad if Blake Lively comes out with a big surprise. I prefer to be zealously Team Justin. I just don't know. She has to have a real strong smoking gun, right? Even if, let's say, only 30% of what Justin Baldoni is claiming is true, it's overwhelmingly more true than what it appears Blake Lively is claiming, right? Like every one of her 31 or whatever claims that she made against Baldoni at this point has all been pretty debunked. Let me see if I can pull up her complaint again, because Justin Baldoni. That was the other thing with what do you call it? Justin Baldoni, Rose McGowan. I think it's interesting, in this alleged smear campaign, to protect Khaleesi at all costs. What's also interesting is Rose McGowan has openly spoken about how there was she believed that there was a smear campaign against her when she was trying to speak out against Harvey Weinstein, right? And she believed that there was a smear campaign that was being propped up by Harvey Weinstein's team. Now, is there actual evidence of that? I don't know. This was her own speculation that she was putting out there, that she believed there was a smear campaign against her. And then you go back and you're like, well, who used to represent Harvey Weinstein? Oh, yeah. Harvey Weinstein's PR rep was Leslie Sloan. Oh, wait, who currently does Leslie Sloan represent? Oh, Leslie Sloan currently represents Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. It's so wild that she can go from defending Harvey Weinstein to now this whole believe women narrative of believing Blake Lively. Like, what? That doesn't really make sense when you put those two together. It sounds like a coinkydink. I'm not trying to lead anybody to any conclusions. I'm just saying it's a coinkydink. And as Rose McGowan said, imagine how tired we are of it. Imagine how tired we are. But listen, Rose McGowan has been claiming alleged smear campaign from the get-go. But so I have the New York Times complaint. I paid for it, paid $4 for the 1-year membership. They got a little coin from me. But so these are the 33 things that Blake Lively has claimed. Let's just review them so that we can discuss which has already been debunked at this point. So number 1 is no more showing nude videos or images of women, including the producer's wife, to Blake Lively and or her employees. We now know that these nude videos or images were the image of Jamie Heath's wife doing a home birth, and the context was it was in relation to Blake Lively's scene where she's giving birth. And so the video, I believe, was not actually shown, but there was a still of the video that was shown, given direction to Blake Lively, and that still that was released in Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, that still doesn't show any lady bits, no lady parts. It's literally the woman yes, she is technically nude, but she's holding the baby in her arms with her husband behind her. It's a very wholesome, beautiful moment of a mother that had just given birth to her baby. So claim number one, throw it out. Claim number two, no more mention of Baldoni or Mr. Heath's pornography addiction or Blake Lively's lack of consumption to Blake Lively or other crew members. Now, Justin Baldoni provided context to this conversation where he claims he only brought up his addiction because he and Blake were discussing they were discussing a scene. They were going back and forth in lines. I'm paraphrasing. This is going purely off of my memory, but from what I remember him claiming in his lawsuit, he said that they were discussing things, and she said that she had never, she doesn't like corn on the cob. That's the safe word for it. She doesn't like corn on the cob, and I don't think watches it. And he's like, wow, you're so lucky. I was exposed to it from a very young age, which led to my addiction. But you're so lucky that you weren't exposed to it as early as I was, right? So that gives us more context into that conversation. So it seemingly was not creepy of him to bring it up when they were discussing things, and she introduced the corn on the cob first. And he's like, corn on the cob, let me add some butter. Mama Bear Cat dropped a super chat and she said, nice pull is credited as Gordon Reynolds. Rearrange Gordon and you get Dragon. Dragon is Khaleesi's dragon. Ooh, Mama Bear Cat. I hope you didn't steal that from Goosh or from Candace Owens or from Dave Neal or from the popcorn guy. But if you did, be sure to give them credit next time, because I don't want to be accused of stealing anybody else's content for that one. But that was a good gem that you dropped. Okay, so that's number two, disputed. Number three, no more discussions to Blake and her employees about personal experiences with SEX, including as it relates to spouses or others. I believe this was in reference to the dancing scene. Remember when they were dancing? They were dancing queens, and they were filming the silent montage or the flashback scene. And he was talking about, she was saying we should talk because me and Ryan Reynolds, when we talk, when we're intimate or something like that. And he's like, well, my wife and I just stare into each other's eyes. I'm assuming that that's what this is referencing, but that there's not real clarity, but it doesn't seem like she has strong foundation to defend claim three. Claim four, no more mention to Blake Lively or her employees of personal times that physical consent was not given in acts as either the abuser or the abused. Interesting, vague, uncertain what this means. I believe Baldoni said that there was like a reference, or maybe Blake said that there was like a reference of, there were times where he could have been better or should have been better about making sure, that there was consent and making sure that he was more aware, right? Prior to him going on this woke feminist journey for himself, there was a time where, he maybe wasn't the most savory or the most in tune and aware. And that's why he tries to be hyper aware of women's wants and needs and comfort now. So not a whole lot of clarity on that one, but doesn't seem like there's much foundation to back it up. Number five, no more descriptions of their own genitalia to Blake Lively. Why are they describing this? It doesn't seem we have any context to that one. Number six, no more jokes or disparaging comments made to Blake Lively and or her employees about HR complaints Wayfair has already received on set or missing the HR meeting. I believe these were jokes about a hug, and they were like, oh, can't give you a hug because that may be violating HR. It was literally a joke that they made in regard to the HR meeting. That's claim six. Claim seven, no more inquiries by Mr. Baldoni to Blake Lively's trainer without her knowledge or consent to disclose her weight. Okay, really? We have to give consent to disclose their weight with the trainer? Like what? Like, again, that was in reference to, he claims to protect the safety of everyone on set, that he asked the trainer because he had something with his discs in his back that he had to lift Blake, and he wanted to make sure that he was trained well and could make sure that he could lift her. And then she claims that that was alleged fat shaming. So that claim disputed, and he released text messages with his trainer. Claim 8, no more mention to Mr. Baldoni or speaking about Blake's dead father. I believe that was in reference to him claiming that he, had a dream about the dad or something. That's weird. Is it harassment? I don't think so, but it is kind of strange. And there are certain boundaries with people's loved ones that are deceased. But also my mom does stuff like that. She's like, oh my God, I had a dream about, she'll tell people, I had a dream. Your mom came to me in a dream last night. And like, she mentioned this flower to you. Does it mean anything? And people are like, oh my God, you spoke to my mom. Like, oh my God. Like my mom sometimes thinks she's a witch. Maybe she is. I don't know. Maybe it's in our bloodline. Who knows? That's how I'm able to steal other people's original thoughts and just insert them into my brain without ever looking at them or watching their content. There's the witch blood in me that just like magically steals other people's ideas through like what brain reading, mind reading. So that one's kind of creepy, but whatever. No more pressing by Mr. Baldoni for Blake Lively to disclose her religious beliefs or unsolicited sharing of his. How is talking about Jesus sexual harassment? That one's just dumb. If Blake Lively or her infant are exposed to the Rona, again, Blake Lively must be provided with immediate notice as soon as Wayfair or other producers became aware of such exposure without her needing to uncover it days later. First of all, you don't have to disclose that anymore because whatever. That's not something that needs to be disclosed, but it is a nice courtesy, right? Number one. And number two, I believe Baldoni apologized and it's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that we didn't notify you sooner, or we didn't know, or whatever. But I don't believe Blake was actually ever exposed to it by anyone specifically. I'm not sure. Then we have the intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when Blake Lively is on set in scenes with Mr. Baldoni. Not a standard practice, right? Just not something that is typically something that happens. You have an intimacy coordinator to help with the choreography, but they don't need to be on set for every single scene between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. There was an intimacy coordinator that was hired, and we know that Blake refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator early on. And from what we know, it doesn't seem like Blake ever met with the intimacy coordinator. It seemed like Baldoni had to meet with the coordinator and then relay his notes back to Blake when they would rehearse their scenes. Salikana dropped a super chat and says, the New York Times video is from 12/12. Megan Twohey says in her complaint filed this Friday, she is speaking like it's the 21st. The entire timeline was pre-planned. It seems like that. I believe Megan Twohey just did like a podcast interview because people were sending me that too. And they're like, do you see she's not even admitting to any guilt? Like, that's crazy that she won't even. Well, I'm like, well, guys, but you have to understand, like, Megan Twohey is enthralled in this lawsuit against the New York Times from Justin Baldoni. So we'll see. We shall see what happens. But thank you for the super chats, Mama Bearcat and Salikana. Thanks for weighing in. I appreciate the super chat. 45. What? Let's get it. Get it. But so, yeah. But yeah, they were saying like, oh, Megan Twohey is talking about this as if, she isn't guilty of anything. I'm like, well, she can't go on a podcast and be like, yeah, we may have gotten this wrong. They're literally being sued by Justin Baldoni. So they have to do everything they can to maintain their innocence. Do you think he'll win the New York Times lawsuit? I think the New York Times. So this is my prediction. I think that the New York Times will fold. And I think that they will settle with Justin Baldoni. And in their settlement, I believe they will likely provide information to Baldoni that may help him in his case against Blake Lively. And it may be in part what they use to take Blake Lively down legally to prove that there was some sort of collusion, that there was some sort of premeditated planning to put this narrative out there. I'm not going to go through all 30 of Blake Lively's points because I just don't care to. But like, listen, if you have 30 and 10 of them have already been debunked, kind of, shoots your credibility. When 10 have been debunked and the others don't have strong foundation or they don't have context to back up what the conversations were or the incidents were, then yeah, unfortunately I have questions. And right now it's not looking too good for her. Patricia A says she's an investigative reporter. She should have known better. What I think has happened is they understand that they have the New York Times protecting them. So they cut a few corners and they do what they got to do, Have you read the article from the Daily Mail regarding Taylor stepping back from Blake? I've not read it, but I would imagine Taylor probably doesn't want much to do with Blake right now because she's getting dragged into this mess that she wants nothing to do with. And I would imagine that things are not all peachy keen between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. I'm pretty sure they're having some really uncomfortable fights behind the scenes. Oh no, I don't think it's looking good. I hope Justin Baldoni's team makes the New York Times retract across their platforms, print and online. I don't know. I feel like the New York Times is probably going to fight this until they have to buckle. It's very likely that they don't settle and they take this to court. Um, I don't know. Something tells me I think they're going to settle, though. I don't think that they want this to go to court. I don't think they want him to dig into Discovery and pull up all of the correspondence because it's going to ultimately like make Blake look bad. Saul says, my comments out about Megan Tui's Twitter video and not the podcast. It was released on the 21st of December. Yes. Oh, actually, let's watch that video right now. Yes, I know you weren't referencing the podcast. I brought up the podcast. Or sorry, I stole it from Googe. It popped into my head and it was Googe's original idea, so I stole it from her. JK, that's a joke. Just in case anybody needed clarity. Let me see. Megan Tui. No, this is songwriter producer. What is her? Megan Marie O'Toole. No, Megan to her. Megan Tui. Let me see if I can find this. We can pull it up. Megan Tui. New York Times. Let's see. Megan Tui, New York Times. What is her X account though? How the New York Times reporters broke the biggest sexual harassment story with Harvey Weinstein. Good for her. Where is New York Times Twitter? Yeah, know how to drive stick. Pull it out, whip it out quick. I can't find her account. And at this point, I don't care to keep looking because she's. TBC, as part of the New York Times settlement, they need to demand a retraction, in my opinion. I'm sure they will. I'm pretty sure that they will. I still don't get when you know so much crap is in an actual writing why you do this. I mean, I think because they thought that they could get away with it. I don't think they thought that Baldoni was going to fight back. And he's like, surprise, bitches, look at me fighting back. And then now you have all of us right-wing conspiracy theorists that are out here being like, yeah, this is a conspiracy to take down Blake Lively. Thank God we have Nick Vial to keep us safe and to guide us towards the Northern Star. Thank you, Nick Vial, for guiding us to the light because you're so smart. Baby, you're delusional. If the Times doesn't settle, it will destroy credibility. They already took a hit with Depp. Did they? I didn't realize the Times was involved in the Depp stuff. The New York Times, I know that he sued the Sun. Do you think he'll get the gag order denied? Love your show, by the way. Thank you, Zabia, for the super chat. Do I think the gag, well, they're trying really hard to get the gag order passed. It depends on the judge. I don't know. I don't know if I have an opinion on whether the gag order will be upheld or denied. I think Baldoni's team's going to fight really hard because the complaint ended up in the New York Times. So because the text messages were printed and it was all already put out there in the public and they are public figures, I would probably say I'm 60-40. 60 saying the gag order will be denied, 40 saying it may be upheld. It depends on the judge, and I know nothing about the judge, unfortunately. Nick Vial is far from guiding light. Well, in his head, he is. Listening on the treadmill, great way to pass the time. Get it, JG. Get it, JG. Get it, JG. Get it. New York Times published the interview with Amber Heard. What? No, it wasn't. Was it the New York Times? I thought it was a different publication. Maybe it was the Times. That was what she lost her defamation case on. I didn't realize it was the New York Times. For some reason, I thought it was like another, like a Hollywood Reporter or something. New York Times has taken several hits and will continue to. Well, they keep doing this to themselves. Oh, actually, good point. Ari Jacob. Shout out to Ari Jacob because I don't want to steal her content, and I do shout her out fairly often. She posted. She quote tweeted me and posted about the New York Times. The New York Times article. Where did it go? I meant to have it available. But she posted on her X account. Dun 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 dun. I meant to have it available, but I forgot. Apologies, Ari. But so she says mainstream media smear playbook 101. Number one, label any dissenting view as right wing. What? That's kind of like the Hollywood Reporter is saying, what's behind the right wing support for male feminist Justin Baldoni? What? It's almost as if this is a playbook. Number two, ignore key context that hurts their narrative. Oh, you mean like the context of the text messages that were manipulated or the omitted text messages in the threads that they were publishing? You mean context like that? Or context about conversations that were happening on set that provide context to her very vague 30 list of 30 claims that she made? You mean the New York Times ignoring those details? That context? What? Is this from the playbook? Number three, quote anonymous sources close to the matter. That one's my favorite. I told you guys how that one works, right? Even with some of my friends, when they reach out to that, when the press will reach out to them and ask them to comment on something, I'm like, you never want to comment on the record. So comment off the record and just allow them to use you as an anonymous source. That way you're able to put your information out there, stay ahead of the narrative. Yeah. So anonymous sources happens all the time. If all else fails, call it a conspiracy theory. See, when you put right wing and conspiracy theory in it together, then suddenly that's the best way to debunk it. We see it happen with politics all the time. People are just now becoming more savvy to it. People are waking up. So when you see things presented as conspiracy theories or right wing agenda, right wing conspiracy theories, just make sure you think about it a little deeper because this does actually happen to be a media playbook. They do it all the time. They do it often, right? And then you know they report things, and then you get somebody like Selena Gomez crying on her Instagram stories about things that she didn't fully look into. Yeah. Yeah, I know how to drive stick. I'm pulling up, whip it out quick. Blake's only succeeding in making us gag. I don't know. Is Leslie Sloan Megan Twohey's source for both the Weinstein story and the Baldoni story, and that it gave it credibility? I don't know. You pronounce my name right. I do. Zabia? Zabaya? Zabia. It's either Zabia or Zabaya. Charisma says, try being called a socialist conspiracy theorist. That's a hoot. I believe you. Max says, I'm going to subscribe just for the title of this live. Proof that Blake Lively conspired with the New York Times to smear Justin Baldoni, question mark. I'm glad I got you. Go Zabaya. Yeah. TBC. What does TBC mean? Popcorn Planet stated Judge Lemon is related to Doug Lemon, director and producer. Interesting. Zabia. Zabia. I stole that pronunciation from Googe. I think it's a conflict of interest, but I'm not a legal professional. I'm sure if they don't get their way that they'll fight bias from the judge, Baldoni's team. Dorothy says the New York Times inserted the text messages of the alleged smear article on the 31st of October as metadata shows. So they had them and knew about them at least 2 months before the complaint was even filed. Well, again, we don't have the date of when the complaint was filed. So that to me is going to be the biggest red flag. That will be the smoking gun. when the CRD complaint was filed and when the New York Times began working on this article. Because if they were working on this article ahead of the complaint being filed, then that to me shows collusion, that they were planning this story against Justin Baldoni. And again, they waited until the very last minute to give him an opportunity to respond. Boom. Lizzie says Zack and Rick Grenell post. He's at the RFK Jr. hearing. Screenshot of journalists writing headlines before RFK even speaks. Yes, I did see that. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's see. Yeah, I know how to drive stick. So whip it out quick. I did see that. Here, I'll pull it up for you. Oof. So it begins. It's beginning. I'm a little nervous about it. But so yes, there was this image that was circulating this morning. Again, goes to the it's unclear what the publication was, but caption says exposed reporters caught in the act of writing negative headlines before the hearing has even started. Why does the press hate Bobby Kennedy Jr. so much? What are they so scared of? Kelly Means is the one that grabbed the photo at the scene. And so it is a photo. It looks like it's from the press room. And so the article before, literally before the hearing began today, the article title, again, this is the playbook, the media playbook. RFK Jr. faces grilling on anti-vaccine comments and animal mutilation at confirmation hearing. Trump live updates. Pam Bondi moves forward in confirmation process with committee votes. So it's like, how is the press already writing their article about this before the hearing even began? So they've already lined up what they want the narrative to be. They've included anti-vaccine and animal mutilation. Now, naturally, one can come to the conclusion that those are likely topics that will come up in the conference hearing, but to already have the article ready to go tells me that the press is not interested in how the hearing is going to go. They already have the narrative and the agenda set up. It's a playbook. It's now being exposed. Some of us have become savvy to this time and time again. So it's just bonkers. When will the JFK files be released? I'm beyond excited for your episode on it. I'm so excited. To me, I cannot wait for the JFK, RFK, MLK files to be released. I cannot wait to dive into them. I'm very excited about that, Chris. I don't know when they will be released yet, but as soon as they are, do we need to discuss Colleen Hoover creating a production company? I mean, I'm sure she now doesn't want to give the rights away to anybody else like Justin Baldoni. I believe from now on, moving forward, she's going to try to produce these things in-house, which, I mean, wouldn't be the worst thing.
Problems in this country that we must face honestly. And the first thing I've done every morning for the past 20 years is to get on my knees and pray to God that He would put me in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic and to help America's children.
Mm.
That's why I'm so grateful to President Trump for the opportunity to sit before you today and seek your support and partnership in this endeavor.
Listen, I know people have feelings about the current president and the current administration, but despite what the media wants you to believe about RFK, I've known this man for a long time, and I know his heart's in the right place. And he wants to make, despite his past, which everybody has a past, I'm not trying to excuse it. I just know the person that he is today, he has a good heart. I hope that these hearings get him confirmed because I do believe that he doesn't want to eradicate the vaccine schedule. He doesn't want to, blow things up and make our country worse. I believe he genuinely wants to make our country healthier again. And I know from the countless families that he has spent time with and spoken to, and the moms that he will allow to sob in front of him and tell their stories that I have seen for many, many years. I believe him. And I know that people have a lot of issues with the current administration. Sorry, I don't mean to get political, but to me, this is not political. To me, the health of our country is a nonpartisan issue. And it's just so wild the way we're seeing, this Baldoni stuff being wrapped up into a right wing conspiracy to believe Baldoni, and to ignore facts and go with feelings. Is a lot of what I see in this realm as well. And I've seen this playbook for a very long time. As I told you guys, I know Jenny McCarthy very well, worked with her, met her when I was like 16, 17. and, known her and worked with her for very well. And I saw how the media twisted her words and created this narrative about who they believe she is and took her words out of context and would clip things out of context. And I saw this playbook way back then, and somehow I kind of lost my way and had faith in that system again. And recently I've woken up to it, and I was like, how could I have forgotten how this whole game works? And I see it in pop culture and I see it in politics, and it's just this establishment that unfortunately is not honest with people, and it's heartbreaking. And hopefully, despite how messy things have to get in the process of getting on the other side of it, hopefully we can get on the other side of it in a positive direction. So we'll see. We shall see. All right. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. What's today? Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I believe tomorrow's episode may be a pre-record. Either Thursday or Friday's episode will be a pre-record. I do have an interview with a special guest that will be on the show. I have to tape it in 30 minutes, so I have to go and prep for that. But I love you guys. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. Happy hump day. Hope some of you get humped today. Hey. Thank you for tuning in, and please don't send any negativity to any of the other content creators that are covering some of the same stuff. If anything, if you want to show them love, go comment nice things, go follow them, go support their content as well. We all work very hard. I know I was a little sassy and a little spicy towards some of them, and I made some sarcastic jokes, but at the end of the day, it's not that deep, and I don't have anything personal against any of them. And I respect them for putting their names and faces and opinions out into the world. It's not easy. We get a lot of negativity as a result of it. So, if you can support. And if not, then, that's your prerogative. But leave me a nice Apple Podcast review, because I do love those reviews. Please give me all the love in the club. All right, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Talk to you tomorrow. Ciao for now. Have a good one. Give me a follow. Just Plain Zack. Follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack. And I will talk to you later, skater. Ciao for now.